So about a week ago, I went into Macy's and they had a brand new fragrance that was released by Carolina Herrera. It was Bad Boy Cobalt Elixir. They didn't have a tester available, so I just went and blind bought the fragrance for $153. And so I did my first impressions. I let you guys know how I felt about it. I said it was a little bit better than the original overall, even though the original's opening was better. I liked going into the dry down, but again, that was the first impressions. So I've now worn it 4 times over the past week. How long does it last? Does the further dry down after that original hour, does it get better? Does it get worse? I'm going to let you know all that today because we're doing our full review of Bad Boy Cobalt Elixir. So without further ado, let's get it. What's going on, my great smelling dudes? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Randy, aka Fragrance Dude. Thank you guys so much for joining me for yet another full review fragrance video where I'm going to be talking about a brand new release here in 2024. I did my first impression of this 7 or 8 days ago, and now I'm going to be letting you know whether it's worth a full bottle pickup, how long it lasts, and in my first impression, I did the opening like hour and 10 minutes, but after that, how did it change? Did that fruity plum still stay there? Did it get any different? Were there any extra notes that I found whenever I wore it the next 4 times? Well, I'm going to be letting you guys know all that today. Before we get into it, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we're going to be doing a full review here of this, which is Bad Boy Cobalt Elixir. Some people don't like the bottle. Some people don't like the bottle style. Some people don't like the fact that it's named Elixir, because we just had 2 other elixirs announced. The new YSL Y Elixir, or La Elixir, I guess is what you should call it. So, I mean, it is what it is. Again, Elixir is just a fad. It's not an actual concentration. It's just a descriptive adjective. With that said, we have Bad Boy Cobalt Elixir. Just sprayed it on my right hand. I'm going to tell you guys about it today. So, Bad Boy Cobalt Elixir. If you didn't watch my first impressions, I will give you a brief description of the opening. So I did wear it 4 more times, and it was pretty much the same throughout those 4 more times, where basically when you first spray it on, it takes the heart of that original fragrance in the opening, and it just makes it deeper and richer. That is the only really thing that it does, with a little bit more of this truffle. The original was a 3 main note opening. It was this clary sage truffle with a plum fruitiness over top. While it was a bit fresher, it was still going to be a little bit more youthful. The opening of this one, though, it kind of takes that plum, it has that truffle, and then it has that clary sage in there. But then you add this like deep and dense richness. I know there's frankincense in this fragrance, and somebody asked me when I did my first impression, did you notice any incense? So there was a small smoky nuance throughout the mid, but in that first impression, it wasn't enough to even warrant a mention. The frankincense does come in more as you get further into the actual fragrance. So again, the opening, it's basically that original Bad Boy Cobalt, fruity, aromatic, a little bit spicy, but then it has this nice warm and rich tone underneath it. I still like the original opening better though. The original opening for the original Bad Boy Cobalt was better than this one. I've never been a big fan of the Bad Boy line in general. Let's just get that out of the way. The Eau de Toilette was just okay. It's like cocoa or chocolate, I should say, to make it easier, with like aromatics and spice, and that cocoa is kind of non-existent after about 10 minutes. The second one had that marijuana note, and I didn't like it. The Le Parfum, I didn't like that fragrance. So the first 2, they scrapped for me. Bad Boy Cobalt came out, amazing opening. Dry down was really lackluster, very earthy, and so that didn't do anything for me. 3 scrapped. Then the Bad Boy Extreme came out last year. The one with, it's kind of like a callback to the original, just with more chocolate. And that one is the best in the line. At this point in time, it's better than this one too. I think that the Extreme, and the thing is that that's still a middling fragrance. It's nothing that is like crazy amazing. I don't think there's any fragrance in this line that is above an 8.0. with that said, this one, I would say the opening is probably like a 7.5 to an 8. It's good, but it's not that original opening. I think that real fruity freshness that you get from the original one, that does it a little bit better than this. This is just a richer version of it. Anyway, so as you get into the mid into the dry down, so at about 45 minutes to an hour, you start to get more into the heart of the fragrance, where it's still going to be earthy, it's still going to be spicy, and that black truffle is starting to pull up a bit more. If you don't know what black truffle smells like, it just comes in and it has a very unique smell to it that you don't smell in anything else, but the best way to describe it is kind of like a spicy, earthy, slightly sweetness that you kind of get from it that you don't smell from many other things. And so while you're in that realm, you also add in a slight bit of a woody tone, and then you get a little bit of like a vanillic sweetness and a slight touch of that incense. But again, at that point in time, it doesn't warrant a mention for either the vanilla or the incense, because at that point in time, it's kind of just like that aromatic clary sage, a little bit of lavender I can notice as well, some spice, with a slight fruity plum. That plum from the opening is a little bit more prominent in the opening, and then it dries down. After about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, it just plays a background nuance. So again, at this point, it's a little bit more spicy, it's a little bit more aromatic, and then that's where the plum is just kind of in the background. So anyway, so I don't have to keep you guys here all day. That was the first impression portion of it. That's what I talked to you guys about last week, the opening hour to hour and a half of the fragrance. After that, once that video was over, and I noticed it did change a bunch. So I don't remember the full note breakdown for this. I know it was vague. It was like clary sage in the opening and something else. As you got to the mid, it was black truffle and woods, and the dry down was supposed to be vanilla and frankincense. Well, again, at that point in time, I really didn't have any vanilla or frankincense that were going to warrant a mention, because at this point in time, that hour and a half mark, it was more black truffle, clary sage, a slight bit of plum, and woods. That's what it was. It was spicy, aromatic, a little bit of fruitiness. But that fruitiness starts to dissipate out about an hour and a half. And then this kind of, so the frankincense never really becomes a main portion of the fragrance. It kind of just adds a slightly smoked vanilla to the fragrance. And after about an hour and a half to 2 hours to 2.5 hours, that starts to pick up more and more, where it's kind of just like a very simplistic smoky vanilla with that black truffle and clary sage kind of lying underneath it, giving it a little bit of an aromatic spice. That is what the fragrance smells like. Slightly smoked vanilla. The vanilla isn't like too powerful. So let's get the performance out of the way real quick. So again, this is an eau de parfum. This is an elixir. It's called elixir, but that's not a concentration. That's a term. This is an eau de parfum. When you first spray it on for the first hour, it does project well above average, really heavy, for the first like maybe hour, hour and a half. After that like hour and a half mark, when it starts to get into that incensey vanilla with the touch of black truffle and clary sage, you're really looking at more of a moderate fragrance. So it's way lower on the skin. So again, it's just maybe, I would say, a foot off your skin, maybe a slight personal bubble. But the fragrance for me overall only lasted about 8 hours. I was actually quite surprised by that, because most elixirs I've tried last way longer than that. This one is a stunner in the beginning as far as how much it pushes out, and then it's kind of just like a moderate projector. Once I saw that it was an eau de parfum, makes a little bit more sense. It's kind of in the realm with, it has a stronger opening, but has almost the same performance as the Extreme. So if you've tried the Extreme, you know what the performance of this is. It's nothing crazy, but 8 hours is enough. I honestly don't care much about that. And the sillage is about 3 to 4 feet for the first 2 hours, and then it kind of just comes down again, more of like a personal bubble for another hour, and then it's more of a closer to the skin set, and that's giving it some. But anyway, getting back into the fragrance, again, opening, it is that kind of clary sage. That opening is the original, just a little bit richer. It still has that plum in there, which it didn't mention in the note breakdown. It's a clary sage, aromatic, spicy mixture with that plum. As you get to the dry down, that plum starts to dissipate into the background, while for the first like hour and a half, you get that clary sage, black truffle, aromatic, spicy mixture being the top portion of it. And then you get that kind of plum giving a little bit of a fruity backbone and maybe a touch of this incense underneath. Once you get out an hour and a half plus, that's where this fragrance starts to tone down, and you get this kind of like semi-sweet. So the vanilla isn't like too in your face, and it's like a semi-smoked neutral vanilla that is just laying on your skin with a little bit of that black truffle, clary sage mixture, and a little bit of this woody tone. Honestly, I like the first hour and a half. I thought it was going to really go somewhere. The dry down isn't bad. I mean, they definitely fixed the dry down from the original. I think if you like the original Bad Boy Cobalt, then you're going to like Cobalt Elixir. I mean, it's kind of in the same line as far as like how it smells. The opening is just a bit richer than the original Cobalt. And the dry down, it kind of just fixes. It's still going to be earthy. It's still going to be spicy. Still going to be aromatic. But it's not as earthy. It's not kind of as dull. And it has a little bit more going on. And then as you get further into the fragrance, that it kind of just slows down. You get that vanilla frankincense mixture with a little bit of that earthy spice underneath it. Overall, I'd probably give this fragrance like a 7.8. I gave it an 8 in my original first impressions, but I didn't get full to the dry down. The dry down is kind of like, I mean, it's okay. It's nothing fantastic, but it's nothing terrible. It's a very easy wear fragrance. I think that of the whole line, this one's probably going to be the most popular among people. My guess, I honestly don't know. I still think that it's a middling line. It's right across the board. It's okay. Macy's gave me the ability to return this, and they'll put this out as a tester. I'm still debating on doing that, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know. I might keep it. I honestly, I don't. The only other one that I have from the line is the Extreme, and I barely wear it. So, because it's kind of like 1 Million Royal with that kind of like spicy chocolate. But I like 1 Million Royal better. But anyway, so that is my full review. You probably won't see this again for a while. It might be like, it will never be on a top 10 list or anything like that, but it has very similar qualities in the opening as far as like, if you've ever tried Invictus Platinum, kind of like that, like the fruity, woody kind of stuff like that, which was also compared to the original Cobalt, which was also compared to 1 Million Lucky. So it's kind of in that realm, kind of, but more rich, has a little bit more of that vanilla and incense as you get to the dry down. So that's where the comparisons stop, is in the dry down, but the opening is kind of in the realm with that. While I still like 1 Million Lucky way better, I still like Invictus Platinum way better. This is still good. It's still good. It's nothing special. I kind of wish I wouldn't have bought it for $153. So we'll see. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Let me know if you've tried it, what you think about it, and I'll be back with another one. Peace out.